What's going on YouTube? West Hobbies RC. So this is going to be a one-part video of the rebuild of my multiplex microjet. So I built this airplane about 2 years ago. It has been flown a few times, not very many, but it's had a lot of modifications. So this started as a multiplex microjet. I shaved a 1/4 inch on the thickness of the wings, 1/8 inch top and bottom, shaved the airframe completely, filled in all the little dimples and all the impressions, and then fiberglassed the airframe with 3/4 ounce cloth on the fuselage, 2 ounce cloth on the wing, completely balsa elevons, and then balsa hardwood trailing edge into the wing to about here. So the elevons had a nice solid mounting point. Elevons are solid, shaved. So the last flight we had with it ended up catching fire, which you see some fire damage here, and it did some fire damage into here and did a lot of damage into here, which has been fixed since then. So then I decided to completely strip it down and repaint it because I was in a rush to get this thing flying for an event, and the paint job did not look good at all. We had some cracking, we had some nasty looks to it. So after the fire happened, it was vinyl wrapped. I stripped it all and decided I'm just going to completely redo the entire airplane. So now it's time to redo the entire airplane. So right now we are going to sand everything down. Of course, we have filler on the bottom too. It looks terrible as it looks right now, but it won't look like this for very long. So now I'm going to sand it all down and get it with a coat of primer and see what it looks like, and then go from there and see what else we have to fix imperfection wise and fill. So with fiberglassing and paintwork, it's just a bunch of sanding, filling, sanding, and filling. So let's get this thing sanded down and get a coat of primer on it and see what it looks like. So we got a couple coats of filler primer down after we sanded the entire airframe. So now we're gonna let it dry for a few hours and then wet sand it out, make sure that everything looks good. See, the bottom is all primed as well. So now let it dry, wet sand, and then get ready for the main color. So the color of this airplane is going to be a gobbler green. So it is Duplicolor engine paint, and this was the original color that I painted it. Well, the second color. I painted this airplane twice. I painted it metallic blue the first time with white, and it looked beautiful, but you couldn't see it at certain angles. So I stripped it down, painted it the second time, and that's when I painted it green with orange, but I was never happy with the green and orange. The orange was all vinyl. So it's going to be green and white. So basically all green, and then we're going to do a nice follow through design, something like this, somehow with the white and a couple black stripes on each side. And then the bottom is going to be white and say Fun Jet along the entire bottom. See, it's still wet, and I just put a fingerprint in it. More sanding. And there, dummy. Anyways, I can sand that out. So I'm gonna let this dry up for a few hours before I put more fingerprints in it, and be back when I am ready for color. All right, so since I am the kind of person where I don't mind sharing my success and how I do things. So I know I'm gonna get the question, how do I make this airplane go so fast? What's the setup and so on? So here is a brand new Hobby King 190 200 amp ESC. Okay, these things are like $42. This is honestly hands down the best 200 amp ESC you can get. With just a little modification of a larger heat sink, this ESC can handle almost 300 amps in bursts. So all I did was cut the original heat shrink off. I only had this heat shrink. I wish I had different heat shrink, but whatever. So I just cut the original heat sink off. Now I bought this bigger heat sink. You can buy them online. I took the original heat sink off the top and I epoxied this heat sink on. I usually don't wrap the ESCs in heat shrink, but since it is held together, I just wanted something just to hold the board of the three boards together and stop them from opening up in flight. And then I kept it open on the end so air can pass through as much as possible. So what I did is we have this, so this high density grease. It's a thermal compound grease using for when you're putting heat sinks on motors and stuff like that. Well, you can buy an epoxy with this mixed in it. It's kind of expensive for what it is. So what I did is just took regular Bob Smith 30-minute epoxy, and I mixed up a little bit of epoxy and then put thermal grease inside of it, mixed it all up, and it gave me exactly what you can buy. And that's what I do for all my heat sinks. And then you just smear a nice coat on it, and I clamp them gently together. As you can see right here, you can see the epoxy. And that glues the heat sink to the ESC. It helps transfer the heat through the ESC. So now we will go ahead when we get done painting, and we're gonna mount this inside the airplane, solder everything up, solder directly to the new motor that'll be in it. And then on the hatch, I'm gonna go ahead and cut a hole for the heat sink to stick out of. So that way we get direct airflow through the heat sink to help cool the ESC best as possible. Cooling is everything. So now I'm going to start wet sanding, and I'll be back when we are ready for color. All right, so we got the paint done on the bottom. We wet sanded it all out, regular white. So now we let this dry out, flip it over, paint the top, and then let that dry, and then we can tape it all off and start the green, because it's going to be a line. So this half bottom, much of it will be white, and then the rest of the airframe will be green, and this bottom strip right here will be white, and I'm gonna have Fun Jet put through here, and there'll be a couple black stripes here and here on both sides. So let this dry, flip it over, do the top, tape it off, and spray the green. All right, so we went ahead and just got all the paint done on the airplane. We did the white first, taped it off, did the green. So this is top and bottom. We got the white coming through here, and we got a little smudge there. So then I started adding the vinyl. So I'm using trim monocoat, 1-inch strip, 1/2-inch top and bottom for the leading edge. So then we're gonna come back through with probably 2-inch black stripes that are gonna come this way and this way, 2 on the top. And then I'm going to pinstripe this out with some black pinstriping, and that'll conclude all the top colors. And then the bottom is gonna be 3 black stripes and then pinstriped out. And then we are going to put Monster Jet along here. And that's going to be really it for the color scheme. Simple, easy. Now you can see the burn damage here. So this was from the previous flight. The reason why we had to repaint the airplane for the 3rd time was from the fire. So the ESC ended up catching on fire in flight. The airplane was engulfed in flames, melted the GPS unit. Could have been really bad. Luckily we didn't melt the servo wire, even though our wires were right here. So luckily it was just damage to the ESC. We were able to land. It did spread out through here, and it melted all the fiberglass in here. So we were able to fix that, repaint it. So we have the modified ESC, as you already seen. So basically the ESC is going to sit just like that, which is perfect. It's exactly what we want. The heat sink is going to stick up nice and high. We will clear the hatch for this, cut up the vent right here, and have it so it just pushes air directly over the heat sink, which will then allow it to come through and go over the motor. We are going to try to run another heat sink on the motor back here, because this setup does pull almost 300 amps at full throttle and somewhere around 6,000 watts, something like that. So I'm going to finish cutting the vinyl stripes now. Again, Hobby King 190, as you already seen, modify it with the heat sink. So I'm going to get back to cutting with the trim monocoat, some 2-inch wide black stripes, get those done, get it pinstriped out, and we'll see what it looks like. All right, so I just went ahead and started cutting vinyl and getting the stickers on. So we're kind of going after the Fusion Jet color scheme here, but instead of it saying Fusion Jet, I wanted it to say Monster across the bottom, and then 3 black stripes on the wing, pinstriped out. Unfortunately, I ran out of pinstriping material, so I can't stripe this out until I get some more in the mail. And then the top, of course, is just a simple scheme on top. Still have to paint the canopy and the rudders. So the fire damage, I'm going to try to sand this down just to clean it up in here, even though I built a tray that goes here. It'll house the receiver, GPS unit, ESC goes here. You won't see it when the canopy's on, but it'll bug the crap out of me because it looks nasty and ugly. So I'm going to figure out a way to sand this, try to get rid of this burn look in it, and then start painting and the rudders and start painting the canopy top hatch. So once I get those painted, I'll be back. All right, so I went ahead and got the motor and ESC all soldered up, got the motor mounted. Of course, we are running a aluminum motor mount, and like my Tortuga video, which is going to be hard to see, give me 1 second. Up thrust is a must. You want to push that back down, nose up. So I got to make another jet sticker, just so, you know, I chipped the paint, so I figured we can just cover it, and I had this left over, so I'll make another one to go here. It'll say Jet on both sides, and I might make it say Monster here just to match and kind of cover my screw up, but that's beside the point. So we went ahead and got ESC all soldered up, power, motor. We're running 5mm bullets, 5mm bullets on the motor, added heat sink as you've seen, and then we got my receiver tray mounted. So we are running the AR6270T carbon fused receiver. It's not carbon fiber. You don't have to. It's just I bought a couple of these when I built the Tortugas. So I had one left over, and it's been a flawless receiver. So we are running X-Bus to our GPS unit. Now, this is a Spektrum GPS unit made by EagleTree. It is heat shrunk because when the fire happened, it melted it. Not sure if it's good, have not tested it yet, but hopefully it is. If not, I got another brand new one we can put in here. We got the ESC, double-sided tape down. So now, of course, all that's left now is to modify or paint the rudders, paint the top hatch. Also, flip this thing over, it is not light. But we got the servo push rods done and control horns. We are running 256 ball link onto the metal servo horn. We are running the Spektrum AR. I don't know if you can see it. No, you can't see it on that one. Okay, here we go. Just so everybody knows what servo we're running. The A5060s. Metal servo horn. 256 ball link. 256 push rod. 256 quick connects. So we got our control surfaces done up again. They're working, tested. Motors mounted. Decals are done. We ran our antennas out each side, just taped down so they are opposite of each other. They're going out. That's the way it was before. It was flawless. So now we need to get the rudders and hatch painted, of course, but now we are modifying the top hatch. So the FunJet, this gets glued down, and this is what all that comes off, but I wanted full access to everything, so I made it one complete hatch, fiberglassed it all together, carbon pins in the back. So it clips in the back, comes down, and when it caught fire, I ended up ripping this whole thing off. So I ripped out the foam that was here that held it down. So I filled it with epoxy. Still got to do the body work and re-drill this. I sunk a piece of hardwood, 1/2-inch hardwood in here, drilled and tapped it for a 1032 nylon bolt. So when this gets pushed down, push it down, run your 1032 bolt right here, and this hatch is not going anywhere. So I ended up just cutting a piece of foam out in here, and if you can see the heat sink right there. So I'm going to feather this in and take foam out of here. So it is a nice air scoop right into the heat sink, and then this air goes right into the motor, and hopefully that'll help keep this system cool. So I'm gonna get to work on that, get this stuff painted, and the FunJet will be done. So just got done painting the top hatch canopy. So that is done and painted. So all that's left paint-wise is the rudders, which I'm going to start on that in the morning. It's getting late. And I got to do the black little vinyl windshield looking thing just to give it a nice completed look. And I also cut another vent hole here. This one goes directly to the motor. And I figured having another one going directly to the heat sink on the ESC, as it's literally right at the top of here. So now air should go in, hit the ESC, and then air in here, and we should get twice the amount of air to the motor, trying to keep this thing alive. This setup right here is going to pull around 280 to 290 amps at, I think, ridiculous amount of wattage. I can't remember. I'll have to do that when I run it up for the first time. We have a 7x10 on it now, but that's not what I'm going to fly it with. I'm going to go to a 6.5 for the first flight, and then a 7x7, and then we'll try the 710. But this is going to be a lot of prop for it is 2250 kV on 6S 200 amp Hobby King ESC with a heatsink modified to handle almost 300 amp. These are honestly the best cheap ESCs out there. I've tried all the 200 amps and the Hobby King, the best. So if you're trying to do setup like this, Hobby King 200 all day of the week, best 200 amp ESC, and they're around $40. And so now we are going to start the body work and sanding. You can see how the canopy goes on. It just pushes in the back, push down right here, and run one 1032 bolt, nylon bolt right into there. Canopy is secured, won't go nowhere, and have full access. So I'm gonna start sanding in the morning, get the rotors sanded and primed and ready for paint, and then this airplane will be done. So the Fun Jet is done. Went ahead, painted the rotors inside, outside, got those epoxied into place. The bottom is finished. Again, we are running the Spektrum A5030 servos on the Elevons, 256 push rods, ball link at the servo, metal servo horn, half-A control horns. Elevons are solid balsa with a piece of 1/4 inch hardwood sinking into them for a solid mounting location. We have the CNC small parts aluminum motor mount. We are running, of course, the AR6270 receiver, Spektrum GPS, Hobby King 200 amp ESC with added extra heat sink, and a cheapo $40 boat motor, which is a 2280 kV on a 7x7 prop for now. We do have a separate 2S LiPo to run the receiver and servos. XD90, one-piece hatch, carbon back dowels slide into it like this. And we push down here, and then went ahead and got a 1032 nylon bolt with a washer, drilled through the front of the canopy, sunk a piece of 1/2 inch hardwood, drilled and tapped it for 1032. So that way our canopy is super secured. Just run this bolt down like this, grab a flathead screwdriver, tighten this thing up. I gotta shorten the bolt so it's not so long, but this is the only way I personally found to secure the canopy on the Fun Jet so that it is not going anywhere. So now our canopy is solid, will not blow off in flight, doesn't look bad. I just have to make another jet sticker to go here, and I'll probably put 2 little arrows here kind of pointing back, just covering up the screw up of paint that I did. But all in all, I'm happy. It's done. It's ready to fly. So you guys will be seeing the maiden flight video on this very soon. Again, this was not a build series. This was just a redo of the micro, or the Fun Jet. Sorry, this is not a micro. But you guys will be seeing it very soon. Expect some fast passes with it. Again, it is a fully fiberglass airframe. Shaved it down, filled it, 1/4 inch off the thickness of each wing. Everything has been fiberglass with 3/4 ounce cloth, carbon added to the nose, another carbon rod added to the wing, solid balsa elevons with balsa trailing, hard balsa trailing edge laid all the way into the wing, so we have a secure mounting location for the elevons. Everything is painted in some black vinyl, but there is the Fun Jet. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little video. Take care. Have a great day.